Hi, Olga here. Today I'm going to create a couple of paper crafting projects for my kitchen. I need a tea brewing guide as well as a coffee brewing guide to keep in front of my eyes for a reference. And basically I could have just printed them out and pinned them to the wall, but you know me, I have to make those pieces of paper pretty. So let's check out what I ended up with. So to start with, I'm going to print out the guides and I'm going to use my Phomemo mini photo printer. It is a thermal printer, so you won't need any ink, just the paper rolls. Although thermal paper tends to fade, this printer uses specialty papers that last anywhere from 5 years to over 20 years, which I think is more than enough for most paper crafting projects. For today's projects, I'm going to use the clear film roll that is long-lasting, that means over 20 years. So first I'm printing out the tea brewing guide, and the one that I'm using is from Mayleaf website. They also have a YouTube channel and I definitely recommend those guides if you want to learn more about teas. I will put a link down below in the description if you're interested. I don't have any ready-to-use picture for a coffee brewing guide, so I will just have to print out a set of numbers by myself. So I'm going to Notes and just typing in the numbers. I'm brewing my coffee in 5 pours using Chemex, and basically those numbers are the amount of each pour in grams. You don't have to get into it, it's just something that I need for a reference. It could be a recipe or a schedule or anything you want to print out and keep in front of your eyes. At this point I decided that my tea brewing guide is way too small, so I enlarged the image and I printed 2 sides of the table separately, and this way I can make it much bigger. The width of the printer paper is 2 inches, by the way. The beauty of the clear film paper that I used is that you can stick it down onto a piece of pattern paper, and this way you will have a colored image. I will be using one of the wood grain papers from the wood grain paper pad by Craft Consortium. I have chosen the bluish shade for my project, and I'm simply peeling off the liner from the printer paper and sticking it down onto the pattern paper like that. I will also be using the same paper for my tea table, so first I'm sticking down the left side of this table. Before sticking down the remaining part of the table, I have to trim it down. You see there's a part of the image that I don't really want, and then I just have to align the left and right parts and stick it down as well. Then I'm cutting out both guides just with the scissors, and I'm leaving some space around them for further manipulations. Now to the paper crafting part. To make this coffee brewing guide pretty, I'm going to use a die set by Paper Discovery that is called Tag Builder. I have used the rectangle die as well as the shaped frames, and I've die cut them out of Cobalt cardstock as well as out of pattern paper, and I also used the silver one. Now I'm going to use the smaller shaped die. I'm placing it over my image, then I'm taping it down and sending it through the die cutting machine. Now let's put everything together. I'm starting by sticking down the patterned paper rectangle onto the cardstock one just for more sturdiness. And then I'm going to attach all three shaped layers, one on top of another, to create that pretty dimension and color variations. The smallest top layer comes the last, and then I'm using a large acrylic block to hold down the cardstock until the glue dries completely. I'm using the double-sided foam tape to attach the shaped labels onto the rectangular base to create even more dimension. Then I'm going to decorate my project with the brads, and since it's a wood grain paper, I thought that screw head brads would work perfectly with it. So I'm piercing some holes at the corners, inserting the brads and bending the legs at the wrong side. Next, I have used that small ivy leaf die to die cut a couple of images out of silver paper. I'm going to place them like that and stick them down. And by the way, all the products that I'm using are going to be listed down below in the description box as well as on my blog. So this is what the finished project looks like. I have attached some double-sided foam tape at the wrong side to put it on the wall. If you want to attach it onto the fridge, use the magnetic sheet instead, or just the magnet. The tea brewing guide project is going to be a bit different. I'm basically just going to frame it. I will be using an A5 size embossing folder that has an ivy leaf pattern, so I trimmed down the piece of milk cardstock to be slightly smaller than A5. To frame my picture, I have to cut out a rectangular hole that is 3.5 by 5.5 inches, and you can totally use just a craft knife, but I have a die that is 3.5 inches wide, so I'm going to use that one. I always find it more convenient to use the dies. The opening that I have now is the right width, but is a bit too short, so I'm using the same die to kind of extend this pattern to 5.5 inches. I'm using a ruler to place the die properly, and then I'm sending it through the machine again. So this is what my frame shape looks like, and you see that it fits onto my picture just fine. Then I'm placing the frame into the embossing folder, and I'm going to send it through the machine again. And this way you can create a really pretty embossed pattern. Since this frame feels a bit flimsy, I'm going to back it up with some blue cardstock, and it's also a great way to add a thin blue border all around it. I'm using a double-sided tape to attach the frame onto the cobalt colored cardstock, and then I'm going to trim off the extra material. I'm using the metal ruler and a craft knife to trim down the cardstock, and I'm leaving a thin border on the outer edge that is about 1/8 of an inch. I'm also going to repeat that process on the inner edge, but this time I'm leaving a much thinner border, somewhere about 1 millimeter. Then I have attached some double-sided tape around the inner edge at the wrong side, and now I'm placing the frame over my image. To decorate the frame, I have die cut some flowers, and the dies that I'm using are from the same set that I used for the previous project, that is the tag builder. I have also used the same colors and materials that are blue cardstock as well as the cream one and the wood grain pattern paper. Now I just have to attach the flowers as well as the leaves onto my frame, and my favorite way to do that is by using the hot glue gun, although you can use absolutely any adhesive that you like. I'm starting by attaching the flowers, and then I'm moving on onto the silver leaves, and I'm trimming them down if necessary. That finishes the second project for today. Definitely things like these take more time than just printing out what you want, but instead they are going to bring a smile on your face each time you are looking at them. And I think it's worth it. It's worth the effort. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial and you found some ideas useful and you will give them a try. If you are interested in the tools and products, I have all the links down below in the description. And if you want to learn more about True Teas, do visit Mayleaf YouTube channel. I watch them all the time. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.